You've been taught to fear the darkness inside you, yet it's the only part of you that has ever been honest, silent, sharp, and waiting for you to finally stop pretending to be harmless. The world never wanted your strength. It wanted your obedience. It wanted you agreeable, predictable, and easy to break. Because a man who refuses to bite is a man destined to be eaten. Machiavelli understood the truth you keep avoiding. Human nature is not gentle, fair, or noble. It is competitive, opportunistic, and ruled by motives most people are too soft to acknowledge. You've spent your life shrinking yourself to fit into a world that thrives on dominance. But harmless men are ignored. Harmless men are used. Harmless men bury their potential under the weight of their own fear. There is a darker version of you, controlled, disciplined, strategically cold. You've muted him because society rewards weakness disguised as virtue and punishes power disguised as intention. This monologue isn't encouragement, it's a blade. If you let it cut through your illusions, you'll become something untouchable, calm under pressure, unreadable in conflict, and feared by those who mistake kindness for softness. Before we go further, comment, "I choose power over comfort." Let it become the first oath you make to the man you're becoming, not the one you've been conditioned to be. Keep listening. What comes next will reshape how you see loyalty, strength, influence, and the psychology of control. The dark side isn't your enemy, only your unclaimed weapon. Number 1. The truth about human nature. They hid from you. Most people walk through life believing others see them with empathy, fairness, or goodwill. But beneath every polite smile lies a hierarchy, a calculation, a hidden ledger weighing your value. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you stop bleeding for people who would never bleed for you. Humans don't follow kindness. They follow strength, certainty, and the quiet dominance of someone who doesn't need validation. When you hesitate, they sense weakness. When you waver, they sense opportunity. Your attempts to be moral, gentle, or agreeable only make you digestible to those hungry for advantage. Machiavelli revealed that loyalty is a myth without incentive. People stay when you are useful, leave when you are not, and betray when the reward outweighs the risk. Accepting this truth doesn't make you cynical. It frees you from the naive suffering that has destroyed wiser men than you. You've been conditioned to believe that goodness alone earns respect. But respect is a currency forged through boundaries, controlled silence, and the ability to walk away with no fear. Power isn't loud. Power is the man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't flinch when the world tests him. Your softness has been exploited by those who saw your compassion as an entry point. They used your patience as leverage. They drained your energy, your time, your loyalty, all while offering nothing equal in return. This imbalance wasn't an accident. It was a strategy executed by people who understood the darker truths you denied. The solution is not becoming cruel. It is becoming unreadable. When people can't predict you, they can't control you. When your emotions vanish from the surface, their manipulation fails. Your silence becomes a fortress. Your detachment becomes a shield. Your presence becomes a pressure they feel but cannot decipher. Coldness is not the absence of humanity. It is the presence of self-respect. It is the discipline to choose logic over impulse, strategy over reaction, and power over fantasy. This transformation is not about becoming heartless. It is about reclaiming the parts of yourself that were stolen by expectation. To rise above the masses, you must see people not as who they pretend to be, but as who they reveal themselves to be when incentives shift. This level of awareness is brutal, but it protects you from the illusions that turned you into a target instead of a force. Comment this phrase to anchor your shift. I see human nature clearly. Write it to sharpen your psychological edge. Every time you repeat it, you reclaim another part of yourself that the world tried to soften, silence, and suffocate for its own comfort. The darkness you fear is not a threat. It's your leverage. The same instinct you suppress is the instinct that could have protected you. In the next part, I'll teach you how to weaponize this awareness so no one ever manipulates you again. Number 2, how to become psychologically untouchable. To become untouchable, you must abandon the idea that people owe you fairness. Fairness is a fantasy sold to the weak. Power belongs to those who observe without reacting, decide without rushing, and cut ties without hesitation. This mindset doesn't harden you, it frees you. Emotional detachment is your first weapon. When you stop giving instant reactions, manipulators lose access to your buttons. Your silence forces them to reveal their motives. Your calmness exposes their insecurity. The less you respond, the more control you gain, because people cannot influence what they cannot emotionally reach. Self-control is the foundation of cold strength. A man who cannot command himself will always be commanded by others. Every impulse you master becomes a chain you break. Every urge you resist becomes leverage. Discipline isn't punishment. It's a declaration that your life will not be dictated by chaos. Stop over-explaining. Weak men justify. Strong men clarify. You do not owe anyone a detailed breakdown of your choices, your moves, or your priorities. Mystery is power. Predictability is vulnerability. The more people know, the easier it becomes to manipulate you. Privacy is not secrecy, it's protection. Detachment from external validation is the second weapon. When praise no longer inflates you and criticism no longer wounds you, you become immune to social control. The world loses its grip on you. People stop playing emotional chess with you. You rise above the psychological games that once trapped you. Pay attention to patterns, not promises. People will tell you anything to gain access to your time, effort, and loyalty, but patterns expose truth. Consistency reveals character. When you judge others by what they repeatedly do, not what they claim, you eliminate 90% of the disappointments poisoning your life. Cold observation will save you from betrayal. Most people reveal their intentions in micro-behaviors, tone changes, delayed responses, subtle shifts in interest. When you learn to read these signals, you stop giving the wrong people access. You stop feeding parasites with your loyalty. Awareness becomes the lock. Experience becomes the key. Your third weapon is controlled presence. Enter with intention, speak with precision, move with purpose. A man who wastes no energy commands all attention. Your calmness creates an invisible pressure that louder men cannot imitate. Power is not in aggression. It's in the stillness that makes others question themselves. Comment this phrase to anchor your transformation. I command myself completely. Write it with intent. Every repetition strengthens your psychological foundation. Every repetition reinforces the version of yourself that cannot be shaken, manipulated, or redirected by anyone's expectations. In the next part, I'll teach you the behavioral strategies that make others respect your boundaries instantly, without raising your voice, without begging, and without explaining. This is where your transformation becomes visible, undeniable, and irreversible. Number 3. The art of commanding respect without saying a word. Respect is not earned through kindness or effort. It is carved through presence, posture, and the quiet certainty that you will not tolerate disrespect. People treat you based on the standard you enforce, not the value you believe you deserve. Your body speaks before your mouth does. Stand still. Move slowly. Eliminate fidgeting. A calm, physical presence communicates dominance without aggression. When you control your body, you control how others interpret your power, and most people crumble in the face of unshakable stillness. Your eyes reveal everything, so you must weaponize them. Hold eye contact just long enough to show you see through the facade. Not aggressive, not emotional, simply aware. Awareness is intimidating because it exposes hidden motives. Most people fear those who can read them. Speak less, but speak with precision. Every unnecessary word you eliminate strengthens the weight of the words you choose to use. People respect voices that waste no oxygen. They associate silence with intelligence, with strategy, with someone thinking 3 moves ahead. Your restraint becomes your authority. Stop correcting people's misunderstandings about you. Let them be wrong. The need to fix false narratives is a weakness manipulators exploit. When you simply do not care, their attempts to define you collapse. Power grows when noise fades. Power rises when your identity no longer depends on external interpretation. Create boundaries without emotion. When you say no, say it as a statement, not an apology. People test your limits to measure your strength. The moment you flinch, they begin pushing. The moment you remain firm, they begin adapting. Boundaries are your invisible armor. Never announce your standards, model them. If someone crosses your line, withdraw access, withdraw energy, withdraw presence. Absence is a punishment stronger than confrontation. When you walk away without explanation, people realize your silence carries consequences they are unwilling to face again. Consistency is your greatest weapon. Anyone can act strong once. Only the disciplined can maintain a standard every day. When people see that your boundaries do not bend under pressure, they elevate their behavior or remove themselves. Either outcome is a victory for your psychological sovereignty. Comment this phrase to anchor your command. My presence sets the standard. Every repetition sharpens your posture, your tone, your control. It rewires your mind to understand that respect is not begged for. It is projected through every decision, every expression, every exit. In the next part, I will teach you how to use strategic detachment to break manipulation before it reaches you. This is where you stop reacting to the world and start shaping it. This is where your cold power becomes undeniable. Number 4. Strategic detachment, the end of manipulation. Manipulation only works on men who crave approval. When you detach from people's opinions, their influence dissolves. The moment you no longer fear losing someone, they lose all leverage over you. Detachment is not emotional death. It is emotional control sharpened into a weapon. When your reactions disappear, manipulators suffocate. Their power relies entirely on your emotional volatility. The calmer you remain, the more they panic. They lash out, escalate, and expose themselves. You don't defeat manipulation by fighting it. You defeat it by starving it. Your stillness is their unraveling. Detachment means choosing logic over emotional bait. Every guilt trip, every silent treatment, every passive-aggressive tactic is designed to push you into reaction. But when you respond with measured silence, you flip the dynamic. The manipulator's game collapses because you refuse to play. Distance is your clarity. When you step back, mentally, emotionally, or physically, you see patterns you couldn't see up close. You notice their inconsistencies, their rehearsed sympathy, their shifting tones. Detachment reveals truth because truth doesn't hide from stillness. Only manipulation does. Never argue with a manipulator. They don't seek resolution, they seek control. Every point you defend becomes a rope around your neck. Instead, say less. Withdraw energy. Let their words echo and expose their intentions. Silence is the blade they never expect, yet always fear. Detachment teaches people how to treat you. When someone disrespects you, reduce access immediately. No theatrics, no lectures. When your presence is no longer guaranteed, their behavior recalibrates. Humans protect what they fear losing. Your absence becomes a boundary sharper than confrontation. Your emotional independence is the manipulation shield most men never develop. When you validate yourself, no one can weaponize insecurity against you. You become immune to charm, guilt, seduction, or pressure. Confidence shifts from external praise to internal authority, and that terrifies those who once fed on your uncertainty. Cold detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means precision. You choose where your energy goes. You choose who gets access. You choose when to engage and when to disappear. This control turns you into a psychological fortress, unshakable, unreadable, unreachable by those who manipulate weaker minds. Comment this phrase to anchor your evolution. I detach to gain power. Let it burn into your mindset. Every repetition strengthens your emotional armor, making you harder to influence, harder to deceive, and impossible to control. In the next part, I will show you how to identify hidden threats, people who pretend to support you but quietly undermine your progress. This skill alone will save you years of wasted loyalty and prevent betrayals that would have shattered the old version of you. Number 5. Identifying hidden threats before they destroy you. Not every threat announces itself with hostility. The most dangerous people enter your life with soft smiles and patient tones, pretending support while quietly monitoring your weaknesses. These individuals study you like prey long before they strike. Your survival depends on recognizing them early. A hidden threat mirrors your behavior at first. They agree with you, validate you, and shape themselves into whatever gains your trust. This imitation is not admiration, it is reconnaissance. They gather emotional intelligence to later weaponize against you. Their kindness is the camouflage. Watch for subtle tension when you succeed. Hidden threats show microscopic signs of discomfort. Tightened lips, shorter replies, a sudden shift in tone. They won't openly sabotage you yet, but their envy exposes cracks in their facade. Jealousy whispers long before treachery speaks. Pay attention to inconsistencies between their words and behaviors. They praise your goals, but mock them indirectly. They encourage you publicly, but doubt you privately. Their support feels fragmented, conditional, strategic. These micro-betrayals reveal a mind calculating the best moment to pull the rug out from beneath you. A hidden threat always asks for more information than they need. They dig into your plans, your insecurities, your ambitions, not out of curiosity, but out of preparation. Every detail you reveal becomes ammunition they intend to use later. Oversharing is the doorway they patiently wait beside. Notice how they behave around others. Hidden threats adapt their personality to control perceptions. They charm your friends, impress your peers, and weave themselves into your social circles. This isn't friendliness, it's tactical positioning. They build influence so that when conflict arises, you stand alone. They often disguise competition as concern. They'll warn you against risks that benefit you, undermine your confidence with gentle tones, and pretend to protect you from decisions that elevate you. This behavioral pattern is psychological sabotage masked as care. It is one of the most lethal tactics. Withdraw from anyone whose energy shifts when you grow. A loyal person celebrates your evolution because they have no stake in your failure. A hidden threat resents it because your rise exposes their stagnation. Envy is the spark. Sabotage is the flame. Recognize the spark early. Comment this phrase to anchor your perception. I see threats before they strike. Write it to command your instincts. Awareness is not paranoia. It is protection. The world does not reward those who trust blindly. It rewards those who observe deeply. In the next part, I will reveal the psychological strategies to dismantle threats without confrontation, how to neutralize enemies by starving their influence, collapsing their leverage, and outmaneuvering them silently. This is where your intelligence becomes your shield and your silence becomes your sword. Number 6. How to silently neutralize enemies without confrontation. The most efficient way to destroy an enemy is to remove the oxygen they breathe, your attention, your reactions, your predictability. Confrontation gives them relevance. Silence erases them. Power isn't proven by attacking. It's proven by controlling the battlefield without ever drawing your sword. Begin by collapsing access. A threat loses 70% of its leverage the moment you reduce its proximity. Withdraw your time, your information, your vulnerability. This invisible distance forces them into panic because predators cannot hunt what they cannot reach or read. Your absence becomes their defeat. Strip them of emotional influence. When their insults, provocations, or subtle jabs fail to trigger you, their psychological weapons malfunction. A calm man is an unsolvable puzzle, infuriating and untouchable. They expect outrage. You give indifference. Indifference is a direct hit to their ego's foundation. Use ambiguity as your shield. Never reveal your plans, intentions, or next moves. Strategic vagueness forces enemies into blind prediction, where they waste energy trying to decode you. The less they know, the more they fear. Uncertainty corrodes their confidence until they self-destruct through paranoia. Starve their influence by strengthening your own. Build alliances quietly. Improve yourself relentlessly. Expand your skills, presence, and reputation. When you rise, their power shrinks automatically. People follow strength, not noise. You don't need to expose your enemy. Your growth exposes their irrelevance by comparison. Let them overplay their hand. Hidden threats eventually become sloppy when they realize they can't sway you. They speak too much, push too far, or reveal too many intentions. Do nothing. Their panic becomes evidence. Their desperation becomes your shield. Their collapse becomes self-inflicted. Never correct their lies. Let lies run their course. Weak people lie to gain control. Strong people allow lies to hang themselves. The truth always surfaces because deceit requires flawless maintenance. Something insecure minds cannot sustain. Patience is poison to your enemies and you administer it silently. Maintain a calm, expressionless demeanor. Enemies feed off your emotional cues to predict your limits. When your face remains still, your tone remains neutral, and your posture remains steady, they lose tactical insight. You transform into a mirror showing them their own weakness. Comment this phrase to cement your evolution. I win without fighting. It's not aggression that builds untouchable power. It's strategy, restraint, and psychological clarity. Every repetition engraves the mindset that turns you from prey into a quiet architect of dominance. In the next part, I'll teach you how to build an aura of fear and respect, an unspoken presence that forces people to step carefully around you, admire you, and never underestimate you again. This is where your cold power becomes unignorable. Number 7. Building an aura that commands fear and respect. An aura of power isn't created by aggression, it's created by presence. People fear what they cannot easily read, cannot influence, and cannot predict. When you move with calm certainty, you radiate a psychological gravity that forces others to adjust themselves around you. Begin with emotional control. Power leaks through reactions, tone shifts, and impulsive behaviors. When you remain composed, especially under stress, you demonstrate superiority without saying a word. Calmness under fire creates an aura that intimidates even confident adversaries. The man who doesn't flinch is the man others fear. Your internal world must become fortified. When your emotions no longer swing wildly, your energy becomes stable and centered. This internal solidity creates the external impression of unshakable strength. People instinctively respect individuals who are grounded because grounding signals dominance, discipline, and mastery over the self. Adopt deliberate silence. When you speak only when necessary, others hang on your words. Silence creates tension. Tension creates influence. Influence creates power. The quieter you become, the louder your presence feels. Silence is the psychological pressure that makes weaker minds reveal their insecurities first. Control your pace. Move slowly, intentionally. Men who rush appear desperate. Men who hesitate appear uncertain. But men who move with precision radiate authority. Your pace becomes a subconscious signal that you are never chased, never pulled, never controlled. Power moves at its own rhythm. Eliminate nervous gestures, fidgeting, shifting eyes, fast breathing. These are signals of internal weakness. When every motion you make is steady and purposeful, people feel as if they are standing before someone operating on a different psychological frequency. Controlled movements create an aura of calculated dominance. Maintain limited accessibility. People place greater value on what feels scarce. When you become less available, not out of avoidance, but intention, your presence becomes more impactful. Distance creates mystery. Mystery creates intrigue. Intrigue creates respect. You become the man people notice even in your absence. Carry yourself with quiet self-respect, straight posture, strong eye contact, neutral facial expressions. Men who value themselves radiate a silent warning. Approach with intention. This aura protects you without effort. People instinctively sense when they're dealing with someone not easily influenced or manipulated. Comment this phrase to anchor your aura. My presence speaks for me. Write it with authority. This mindset reshapes your posture, your communication, your self-perception. You stop seeking recognition and begin commanding it without ever demanding it. Number 8. Crafting a power identity that precedes you. A true power identity is not a performance. It is a permanent psychological framework. It shapes how you move, how you think, how you respond, and how others react before you say a single word. When identity becomes armor, reputation becomes a weapon. Begin by defining what you tolerate and what you refuse. Power identities are built through non-negotiables. The moment you eliminate compromise in your principles, people adjust their behavior instantly. Weak men adapt to others. Strong men force others to adapt to them. Your identity must be consistent, not sometimes disciplined, always. Not sometimes calm, always. Not sometimes strategic, always. Consistency creates predictability in your strength, and predictability creates respect. People trust a strong pattern far more than a loud promise. Identity solidifies through repetition. Develop the habit of speaking with intention. Every sentence should be clear, minimal, and decisive. Rambling signals insecurity. Precision signals control. When your speech reflects thoughtfulness and restraint, people assume intelligence, authority, and depth. Words become more powerful when they are chosen rather than spilled. Your actions must align with the identity you present. If you say you value your time, don't waste it. If you say you protect your peace, don't entertain chaos. When your behavior and standards match, your identity becomes undeniable. Hypocrisy destroys power. Alignment creates it. Show measurable progress. People respect growth they can see. Strengthening your body, sharpening your intelligence, improving your discipline. These changes create silent credibility. A man who evolves becomes a man others cannot ignore. Growth is the currency of influence, and consistent improvement is its investment. Build a reputation rooted in behavioral reliability. When others know you cannot be manipulated, cannot be rushed, and cannot be emotionally cornered, they instinctively elevate their approach. You do not gain respect through demands. You gain it through predictable strength. Reliability is dominance in disguise. Your identity must generate pressure. Not through intimidation, but through expectation. When people know you hold yourself to a higher standard, they adjust their own standards around you. This psychological shift positions you as a reference point, a person whose presence naturally sets the tone. Comment this phrase to anchor your evolution. My identity is my power. When this belief becomes internalized, your choices become sharper, your boundaries become stronger, and your presence becomes heavier. Identity creates momentum. Momentum creates influence. Influence creates authority. In the next part, I will show you how to build psychological influence, how to guide conversations, shift minds, and shape environments without force. This is where your power identity becomes a tool for silent control and strategic persuasion. Number 9. The psychology of silent influence. Influence isn't about persuasion, it's about positioning. People follow those who radiate certainty, not those begging to be understood. When you move with quiet confidence, others instinctively mirror your pace, adopt your tone, and adjust their energy. Influence begins the moment you no longer chase agreement. To command influence, speak slowly and pause strategically. Pauses create psychological tension. Tension creates focus. People listen more intensely to someone who doesn't rush to fill silence. When your words feel deliberate, they strike deeper. Influence is less about volume and more about precision. Don't rush to answer questions. Thinking before speaking shows you're not easily led. It signals mental independence, something people instinctively respect. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability forces others into caution. Influence grows when people worry about misreading your mind. Mirror nothing. Most people unconsciously match energy to seek approval. You are not most people. Your power comes from holding your own emotional temperature. When someone gets loud, you get quieter. When they get nervous, you get calmer. This reversal flips the psychological balance instantly. Ask calibrated questions instead of making direct statements. Questions guide thought without confrontation. They slip under defenses. They make others reveal their motives while believing they're in control. Influence is never about forcing decisions. It's about guiding minds toward conclusions that benefit your strategy. Never respond emotionally. When others raise their voice, complain, or attempt manipulation, your stillness becomes a mirror reflecting their instability. This contrast increases your perceived authority. People unknowingly follow the person who seems most grounded. Emotional neutrality is psychological dominance in its purest form. Offer minimal approval. Excessive validation weakens your influence. Sparse, intentional acknowledgement makes people crave your recognition. Humans chase what feels rare. When your approval is scarce, your value increases. When your praise is earned, its impact becomes unforgettable. Rarity fuels influence. Control the frame of every interaction. People operate within the emotional environment you set. If you radiate calm certainty, they adjust. If you radiate purpose, they align. Influence is not what you say. Influence is the reality you create around you through disciplined presence. Comment this phrase to lock in your influence. I shape the room without speaking. Repeat it. Believe it. Influence does not require force. It requires mastery of behavior, tone, and timing. This mindset transforms every conversation into a stage where you hold the psychological advantage. In the next part, the final part, I will show you how to complete your transformation. How to become the man who commands respect, fear, loyalty, and silence without ever asking for it. This final chapter seals everything you've built and makes your power permanent. Number 10. Becoming the man no one can break. True power is not displayed, it is embodied. When you reach a point where the world's chaos cannot penetrate your mind, you become the type of man others instinctively avoid crossing. Power becomes less about dominance and more about the unshakable certainty carved into your presence. To become unbreakable, you must detach from the need to be understood. Most men crumble because they fear judgment, misunderstanding, or isolation. But when you stop living for external validation, you stop bending. The world cannot manipulate a man who seeks nothing from it emotionally. Your discipline must evolve into identity. Routine is not enough. You must build habits so ingrained that breaking them feels unnatural. This level of structure hardens your mind, stabilizes your emotions, and transforms you into a force that remains centered regardless of what others attempt. Cold self-respect becomes your shield. You no longer allow disrespect disguised as humor, manipulation disguised as love, or entitlement disguised as friendship. You protect your energy with ruthless precision. Anyone who cannot match your maturity is denied access without negotiation or guilt. Your emotional world becomes fortified and selective. Instead of spreading your energy thin, you give it to no one who hasn't proven themselves. Loyalty is reserved for the worthy. Trust becomes a privilege earned slowly. This scarcity makes your presence more impactful and your boundaries unchallengeable. The final stage is emotional neutrality. You rise above insults, praise, and chaos equally. Compliments don't inflate you. Criticism doesn't wound you. Attacks don't move you. A man who cannot be swayed psychologically is a man who becomes a quiet pillar others orbit around. Purpose becomes your anchor. Every action aligns with a mission, not a momentary impulse. You move with direction, not distraction. When your life has clarity, manipulation fails, weakness fades, and people sense they're standing in front of someone operating on a higher psychological plane. Your silence becomes a language. People read into it. They fear disappointing you. They respect your standards. A quiet man with disciplined edges radiates more threat and more influence than any loud pretender. Silence is not emptiness. It is controlled power waiting for the right moment. Comment this final phrase to seal your transformation. I am untouchable because I built myself. This is the identity you've been moving toward, one forged in clarity, discipline, detachment, and cold self-respect. You didn't inherit this power, you constructed it through every standard you enforced. Now, if this monologue reshaped something inside you, if it made you see yourself with sharper eyes and colder clarity, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More psychological warfare, more Machiavellian strategy, and more power sharpening is coming. and you don't want to miss what's next.